This is my entry to Tonto, jump on it. Tonto, jump on it. This is my entry to Tonto, jump on it. Tonto, jump on it. This is my entry.
Hey there, VC, and welcome to Vinyl Talk with Tavis. This is my entry into the Tonto Jump On It contest with the fantastic Chris from Tunes from the Man Cave. Chris, first of all, let me say that I have learned so much from watching your videos. It's just crazy about the knowledge you have of jazz music and music in general. And when you put up a video, I can expect to be a student. I can expect to sit down and learn something from a record that you own or a record that you've received. You have a lot of knowledge, man, and that's really, really cool. And I appreciate all the knowledge you have and how you share it with all of us in the vinyl community. So let's begin. We have 5 major questions here and then 1 extra. The first question is, name a record that reminds you of your family and why. Strangely enough, when I was looking for that particular record, I couldn't find it. And I don't know if you all have had this happen. I'm sure that you have. But you have so many records, you know, and maybe you took a record to a friend's house, or you took a record to your job, which I can do because I have a record player there. But for some reason, I've lost this double LP set. And I found out today that I lost it. I looked everywhere, can't find it. And it's the second album I've lost. But this album reminds me so much of my family. We were raised in the church, and my mother especially, but my mom and dad love gospel music. And we had just gotten a big satellite for watching cable, and we got Black Entertainment Television as one of the channels. So they would always have these different commercials about ordering music compilations on LP, cassette, or 8-track. They didn't have CDs back then, like the mid-'80s. This was during the mid-'80s. So my mom ordered the 8-track of this set called No Ways Tired. And it just had a lot of gospel artists' music on there. And being a church boy, that music meant so much to me, and my mother played it constantly. She bought the 8-track. So I hated the fact that we would have to wait to listen to certain songs. And it was just, 8 tracks are just, to me, just awful. I think it's good to file away and say that you own a certain 8-track, but to use it as a form of listening to music, it was just awful. So we'd be in the car, and my mother would put in this 8-track, and my dad would be at work. And this is a little personal, but there was one song on there called I've Been in the Storm Too Long by the Mighty Clouds of Joy. Okay? It's a really heartfelt song. The Mighty Clouds of Joy is just a premier gospel group. At least in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. They were just killer. And one song on there, I've Been in the Storm Too Long, when my mom and dad would argue, my dad would work and my mother was a stay-at-home mom. Beautiful woman, great, great, great gal. Just love her so much. But she would play that album, No Ways Tired, the whole album. But when we get to that song, I've Been in the Storm Too Long, and especially if her and dad had been arguing and she was really upset, she would play that song over and over and over again. And she had this way, she would just play the 8-track over and over. And when she got to that song, she would just be like, "Oh, thank you, Jesus. Oh, glory." And sometimes she'd be crying. And I'd be like, "Mama, what's going on?" But I really couldn't console her because, she was upset with Dad. So when she played that song, I knew that something was up with her and my daddy. But that reminds me of my family, that album, because it was the first record that my mom bought for herself that I can remember, or it was an 8-track. But she bought that. And so even now, when I purchased it before I lost it, and I'm going to get it on Discogs, I can't wait to buy it. I was playing it in my house here, and my sister called me one morning. It was a Sunday morning, and I was playing the record. And she heard some of the music that was playing in the background. She said, "What are you playing?" I said, "I'm playing No Ways Tired, that compilation of music that we had when we were growing up. Remember Mom always played?" And she was like, "Oh my God, you have that?" And she remembered vividly the music and the times and when Mom would be crying. And she wasn't always crying, but we were just very happy to have that compilation of music. Another album that reminds me of my family is Sam Cooke, this Portrait of a Legend. And I've spoken about this on a previous video. My dad really loved Sam Cooke. In fact, I called him a few weeks ago and I just wanted to talk to him. You know how you get that mood to talk to your mom and dad. And I just asked him point blank. And I know my mother's favorite artist is the Mighty Clouds of Joy that I just talked about. So I wanted to know who my dad's favorite artist was. And I knew it was Sam Cooke. I had a feeling that he'd say it. And I just asked him, "Dad, who is your favorite artist? Who's your favorite singer?" I said, "Who is your favorite male artist? Let's just narrow it down." He said, "Well, son, it would have to be Sam Cooke." And I felt so good that I had known that internally, He said, "Son, when we were growing up, Sam Cooke was, he was it. He was the main man." And when I bought this, I told my dad about it, and he was really happy that I bought it. And I think about the song "You Send Me," and also when he went from gospel to secular music. My dad remembers all that. He says, "I loved every song he did. If it was gospel, I loved it. If it was secular music, I loved it." And he knew stuff about Sam Cooke that I didn't know that he would know about. There's this great documentary about Sam Cooke on Netflix, and I was telling Daddy about some of the things I had seen. He said, "Oh, I already knew that." I said, "Of course he'd know it, because, he was growing up during that time." But yeah, this makes me think of my family. So when I look, even when I look at this album cover, it's like I think of my dad. And the second album, I know I'm talking about my dad a lot, and there's a purpose. He's still alive and doing wonderful. But he's dealing with some situations, some sickness, And so I'm thinking about my dad a lot. This record of Johnny Mathis is the first video that I did when I started making videos on YouTube. And I remember don't you love when you get in situations with your parents and it's just either you or your mom together by yourselves, and you just start talking about life and stuff, and it's not surface stuff. It's when you're talking about life in general. And my dad, he started talking to me about when he was a little boy, when he was picking cotton. I'm surprised he doesn't get emotional, because the stuff that he had to go through with his dad made him pick cotton. My dad comes from a big family, about 9 children. And I think he said all the boys, they would get in the back of a truck and they go to this faraway city. He said when you ride in the back of a truck, I mean, it's far. So they would get to this city and they would pick cotton. And my dad's dad, my grandpa, would really be watching them when they picked cotton, because they wanted to get as much cotton picked as they could to get as much money as they could. The more cotton you picked, the more money you got. So Daddy made sure that his boys were picking cotton quick and efficiently, and they get tired and the sun would be out there, and Dad said they'd be sweating, and Dad said he would just like kind of stop, and he kind of look at his daddy to make sure he wasn't looking at him. He'd have to take a little break and put his hands on his waist and just all that hard work. But he said, they would have this little radio, and sometimes during the winter time, when they'd be doing hard work such as picking cotton, I don't think they were picking cotton in the winter time, but he said they still were just always doing hard work as kids. But they always had this little radio with them, even in the summer. And they'd listen to Sam Cooke in the summer. And he said, in the wintertime, when we were doing hard work or whatever, when they heard Johnny Mathis singing Winter Wonderland, which is on this record, Johnny Mathis's first Christmas record, he said he knew Christmas was really here. Although it didn't look like Christmas around the house. I mean, they didn't have, Christmas trees and wreaths and all those things and lots of Christmas presents. But the music he would hear on the radio was probably the most Christmas they'd ever get. So he said he really felt good to hear Johnny Mathis. And that, to me, that was just such a good bonding time with me and my dad, to hear him talking about his life as a boy. So I had to share that with you. This makes me think of my dad as well. The next question is the record that reminds you of your kids or being a kid. I have to talk about this record. And I've spoken about this before. This is Barbara Acklin, 7 Days of Night. Barbara Acklin is a singer, songwriter, and this is the first record. This is the first record that I remember while being a boy. It's the first record I remember listening to and just loving it so much. And I knew that music was what it brought me to life musically. And as you can tell, on side A, there's a song, or side 1 here, the song Go With Love. It's the number 2 song, okay, on side 1. And my dad had this big console record player, and he would play this album and other albums, but I really loved this record. And so when he would go to work, my mom would be in the kitchen and she'd be cooking, and my sister, I think my mom was pregnant with my sister at the time. So I'm about 4 or 5 years old. So I took it upon myself to start playing this record myself. So I took it out of the jacket and I put it on the record player, and this record player was an automatic one. You didn't just take the needle and put it on the record. You had to push the switch and it would go up by itself, and it was so slow. And I'm like, oh man. And then it wouldn't go to the song I wanted it to go to I didn't want to hear the first song. I wanted to hear the second song. So I saw that it wasn't going to the song I wanted to go to. So I just pushed it. And the needle just dropped. And I saw some wires in the back of the needle arm just become exposed because I had pushed it and I broke something. And the needle went, it just did a skating action on the record, and it just scratched it. And Mom rushed into the living room where I was, and she was like, "What did you do?" Because she saw that the needle was broken. The needle arm was just hanging. And she told me recently that that wasn't the first time I had broken the needle arm. And so when Dad came home, I really don't remember what happened after that. I have no clue. I haven't asked him what he did. I think he gave me a good old spanking. And I don't think that, well, my mom said that they never fixed the record player again because they said I have this boy who keeps breaking the record player. So he said, I'm not buying another record player and I'm not fixing this one. So all we listened to on this big stereo was the radio and 8 tracks at the time. The next question is, name a favorite beverage you enjoy while listening to records. Now, Chris, that was really a hard question because I'm listening to records all the time, and if I drank the beverage that I really wanted to drink every time I listened to a record, I'd never be able to function. I mean, what kind of question is that? But what do I do when I listen to records? Well, actually, I like to sit on my recliner. Usually, I'm just listening and not doing any eating or drinking. However, I have begun smoking cigars on occasion. So it's not a beverage, but of course, I find that to be very relaxing. I like to smoke cigars now, and I don't do it every day. I just do it as like a celebratory thing. Maybe every other Friday when I'm off work, or like when summer began, I smoked a cigar. And I don't have any cigars today. I'd show you. But because of this entry, I had in my pantry a bourbon whiskey that a friend bought for me that I hadn't opened yet. It's called Basil Hayden's Bourbon Whiskey, Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. So I'm like, hey, I'll give this a shot on this video. So let me try it. This is not a whiskey glass. But this is cheers to tunes from the man cave. Ooh. Smooth. Well, I don't drink whiskey a lot, but I do recommend this. This is not bad. Thanks to my friend who gave it to me. So if I were to be a person who were to drink all the time while listening to records, that would probably be my drink of choice now because I really like it. But I don't really drink a lot when I'm listening to music because I want to stay focused on the music. And again, if I drank every time, I wouldn't be able to function. That was a crazy question. I like that question. Very cool. Favorite record from your favorite genre? Well, I just could not choose one genre. I just could not do it. So I'm going to get through this as quickly as possible. Okay. I'll put this down. I put a lot of genres in a cup, and I chose 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe. So here's the first one. It's Christmas. My favorite Christmas album is Not What You Think. It's the Ray Conniff Singers. We Wish You a Merry Christmas. When I tell people, my friends, and when I tell them that I love this record, it's almost as if there's a little shamefulness inside of me because they would not expect that I like this album. But this is so Christmassy. It is just the traditional Christmas music. There's no popish, hip-hopish, country. It's just straight music with a big vocal group. And it goes from orchestral to simple orchestral. It sounds big, then it sounds small. But I became familiar with this record when I was searching on YouTube for some songs to do for my kiddos. And I heard this album on YouTube. I was like, that's interesting. It kind of caught my ear, you know. And then I had Sirius radio in my car, and I put it on a Christmas station. It was playing Christmas all the time during late November and December. And I heard the song called Ring Christmas Bells. Ring Christmas bells, dum 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 dum. And I said, who is that? And the DJ mentioned that it was the Ray Conniff Singers from the album We Wish You Merry Christmas. I'm like, well, that's not the same song I heard on YouTube, but it's on the same album. I said, I've got to get that. So I bought this cheap version at some thrift store for 25 cents. It was just in bad condition. And found this in awesome condition for $1. Mint condition. And the song Ring Christmas Bells, oh my God. That chord at the end, vocally, it has this wonderful minor major chord. Oh man. But every song is beautiful, of course. You know, it's the traditional Christmas music. But I love Ray Conniff's production and his arrangements. Great Christmas record. In fact, I'll listen to it after this video. I love it so much. Now, you all know, if you are a subscriber of mine, that I love disco. So when it comes to disco music, I think this is my favorite album from that genre. First of all, it's a compilation album, so it doesn't limit you to one artist. And I love the Bee Gees, but if I'm driving on a long trip, I am sure to have this CD in the car with me, because I know firsthand that I'll enjoy every song as I'm driving. And I know that when I'm to the last song, I've driven a good ways and I'm almost to my destination, if it's like an hour and a half or something like that. So this album is just, it's my favorite disco album. There's that John Travolta doing his thing, and the Bee Gees, and is that Tavis? And Yvonne Elliman, If I Can't Have You. My favorite disco album. Let's see. This is my favorite pop album. pop rock. Elton John, and I love all pop, soft rock music. I love a lot of artists in that era. But this is, Captain Fantastic is my favorite. Is it pop rock? I guess so. I think it is pop rock. I guess now it's considered soft rock. I don't think it was soft rock at the time. But Someone Saved My Life Tonight is just so touching. It just gets you, it pulls my heartstrings. And it's a song that talks about the time when Elton John was contemplating suicide, you know. So I didn't realize that until like 3 weeks ago. And that song just gets me. Someone save my life tonight. Oh man, is that not? If you all haven't listened to that song recently, I suggest highly that you take a listen to it. And that piano introduction, dum 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 dum. Man, classic stuff. Man, I gotta listen to that too. Boy, Chris, you got me thinking. And if you're a subscriber of mine, you know I love gospel music as well. And that was the first music I spoke about. That was what I was raised on. And Andre Crouch is a gospel singer. And this album, No Time to Lose, man, I can't speak highly enough about how this record was life-changing. I've had many life-changing records, but musically, piano-wise, because I play the piano, and Andre Crouch is a piano player as well as a singer, songwriter, producer, arranger. He was very, very well known in the contemporary gospel music realm. Okay, this album, along with his many other albums, you would question, is it really gospel music? And I love the fact that it didn't sound like traditional music, although I do love traditional gospel music. But on this album, there's such a variety of styles that you hear. But my favorite song on here is Got Me Some Angels. It's the opening cut. And it also has a song called Oh It Is Jesus by Tata Vega. If you're not familiar with Tata Vega, you know, she was a secular artist as well. Tata Vega, Tata Vega. Great singer. There she is right here. And her voice is used as Celie singing in The Color Purple. Tata Vega, right there kneeling in the green. Now, I'm also a lover of hip hop too. And the first hip hop album I remember, I think it was a CD I remember buying, was Boys in the Hood. Finally got this on vinyl, 1991. The movie was awesome, and this soundtrack is just the bomb. It is the bomb. And I'm very glad to own this. It cost me some money. And I think this is the most expensive album I've ever purchased. And I just felt the need to buy it, especially when John Singleton, the movie producer and director, he died recently. And I just went to my local record store and they just happened to have it. It's used, but it's in great mint condition. So I had to get Boys in the Hood. Okay, an album with a great story. This album has a great story for me. This is LaBelle Nightbirds, because it has the song on there, Lady Marmalade. And a few years ago, a friend of mine, I'll share this in a recent video. A friend of mine bought me tickets to see Patti LaBelle for the first time. And I came home from work and I was really excited to go to this concert. But I was extremely tired that day. We had done so much at work. And I was debating if I was going to make it to this concert. And so I had decided in my mind, Tavis, you're not going. And I was playing the music, and I was like, Tavis, it was 30 minutes into the concert. I think it started at 7, and it was 6:25. I got myself up out of bed, and I threw on some clothes right quick. So I went into the venue, and I sat down, made a few friends right close to me, and then she calls up people from the audience. She calls men in particular to come up to join her, to sing. And the lady next to me pushes me. She says, Tavis, go up there, go up there. And I go to the side of the stage, and she's pointing at men to come up there, and I'm yelling, Patty, Patty. And she points at me and says, you. And then the security guards bring me back, and I go around, and she's singing Lady Marmalade, and I don't know those words. So I was the last person to sing, and she had like 5 or 6 people in front of me. And so they're singing, and they don't sound really good, and she's telling them, I need you to sing, I need you, and they're just not singing at all. And I'm saying to myself the whole time, I don't know this song, I don't know what the words are, I don't know what she wants me to do. So I started thinking about new attitude. Ooh, 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 I got a new attitude. So I'm like, maybe I can put those words into this song, Lady Marmalade. Right there, you see? That's not it. Sorry, y'all. Right there, Lady Marmalade on side 1. So it's time for me to get the mic, and she wants me to sing. And if you look at my videos, my previous videos, I think it's called I Got a Chance to Sing with Patti LaBelle or something, you'll see the video. But I start singing New Attitude in the style of Lady Marmalade, and we start echoing each other, and it is a phenomenal hit. And then she goes back into the big finish, and the crowd, the concert audience goes bananas. And a lot of people in the audience, they knew me. And they were like, whoa, Tavis, whoa, 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 whoa. And they all thought that it was planned because it was so well done with her echoing me. You knew she was a professional. You know, because I was doing stuff and she was echoing me. And then we started to harmonize without knowing that we were going to do it. It was not rehearsed. And it sounded so good. And it was one of the most fantastic experiences of my life. I didn't know the song, but I did what I thought was best. And it turned out marvelously. And I could hardly leave the venue. People thought that it was fake, it was planted. They all thought that me and her had rehearsed backstage and made it happen. It was one of the best experiences of my life. So this album means a lot to me, although it's not in the best condition. And I want to get another version of this. I want to get a better version, a better copy. But yeah, singing with Patti LaBelle was the most awesome thing. The extra question is to talk about vinyl karma. Well, Madonna has this new album out called Madam X, and I want to get that really soon. I want to buy that. And it's on vinyl too. It's a double LP. But I was talking to a friend how I loved Madonna and how I wanted to get Madam X, her new album. And we decided to go to one of the record stores here in town, and we were just looking through, and I was not looking for Madonna specifically, but I did not own this album from Madonna, and I wanted it, and I had put it on watch notice in my eBay account, and it was like 15, I think $20 altogether with shipping. And he said, Tavis, come over here. I'm like, what? He said, I found Madonna. He found it for me. He said, don't you want this? I'm like, yeah. $5. Mint condition. Okay, I think it's mint condition. And I was so happy to get this. And I hadn't listened to this album all the way through. You know, I just know Like a Virgin and Material Girl. And then when I brought it home and played it, every song is the bomb. Every song is great. Produced by Nile Rodgers from Chic. And so I felt so good knowing that I could have, or knowing that I finally owned a good copy of this. I think I'll eventually purchase a new copy from Amazon. You know, they have those reissues, of course, and I want to get it on white vinyl. You know, that'd be really cool. But this is Vinyl Karma. I'm thinking about Madonna's new album, Madam X, talking to my friend. We decided to just go to a record store, and then all of a sudden, he's screaming, Tavis, do you have this? I'm like, no, I want it. It's mine. So, yeah, Vinyl Karma for sure. Well, Chris from Tunes from the Man Cave, that was my entry to your Tonto Jump On It 500 subscriber contest. Hope that you all have enjoyed this. I think it's ran a little bit long, but that's okay. Hey, we're talking about what we love, right? Music. And so, as always, with music, be inspired, yeah, and stay inspired. And Tonto, jump on it. Tonto, jump on it.